Hi and welcome to this episode of Zeitgeist podcast with Niklas and Flo. Hi, I'm Niklas.
Hi, I'm Flo.
Today we're going to talk about longevity. Flo, have you heard about it?
No, it's the first time.
It's really interesting, right? I feel like I'm not even sure how far it's gotten. I feel like I'm a lot on X, and on the X bubble there's like an X um, tech entrepreneur. So his name is Bryan Johnson, and he kind of, after selling his last company for 26 million roughly, he kind of set a new goal to live until 120, I think, 150. So to live very long. And what he started doing basically is to have him completely measured. Like everything is blood values. He takes that very, very clearly, how well he sleeps, basically, how his stress scores are. He's extremely careful with nutrition, what he eats, how he does it. And he's gone so far, like, for example, his children donate some part of their blood, basically, so he gets some fresh stem cells. So it's like, it sounds a bit like science fiction, but he's really serious. And I think the thing that at least I really see in the bubble that I'm in on X is that people really start caring more about these things, which I overall think is a good sign and a good step in the right direction. So I found this a really interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it feels that people are now more aware of at least what they're eating and drinking and stuff like this. I guess everyone wants some kind of a healthy lifestyle. Um, the big question is just how far do we need to go to really reach our goals? Um, I
We
mean,
might have different goals, right? And different levels of willingness to sacrifice, I would say, as well, right? So for me, for instance, so I've lately been actually looking at my nutrition a little more, because I just measured my blood sugar once in the morning and I felt it was relatively high. So I started to just discuss with Jiminy what the effects of certain foods in the evening are, basically. So if I drink a juice, for example, late evening, it will keep my blood sugar up the whole night. I didn't know that before, but then it's something I can quite easily change, right? So I don't take in that much sugar late evening. It's a lot better for my health. And then it's really something I never really cared about these things. I didn't really look at it. But then I looked at blood sugar generally, and I understood that what basically sugar does is it scratches the surface of your blood vessels. And this can lead, especially if you have high blood pressure, as I understand it, like from reading it, basically to I would say like small infections below like the blood vessel, and that's also what can cause later on heart attacks or something like that, and it destroys your blood vessel. And that these kind of things I never really beforehand I never really cared much about it, and I honestly think I do a lot of sports, I live relatively healthy, but it felt like with like just a few tweaks on my general like diet I could actually change something that is not really a hard trade-off for me, and that I found quite interesting. It's the first time that I've really looked into it. I've never looked at it before.
yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, especially with AI, it is definitely helpful to get a better understanding about what we're eating and drinking and how little tweaks can make a big difference in some kind of way. I mean, as you said, with the juice in the evening, I think it's not obvious. A lot of people think that juice are like a healthy drink, but it for one person it can be like a healthy drink, and for the next one it might be not, because it's a chain of different reactions we probably don't want.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the time of the day. It's not that I'm against that. I think that juice is generally a bad idea. It's just not such a great idea if you drink it before you go to bed, for example. If you get this sugar in, and the sugar intake, for example, of a smoothie, as I learned, is more than a glass of Coca-Cola. But then if you like take it in the morning, then you go for a walk for half an hour, you probably use a lot of the sugar you put into your blood, okay? So then it's not that negative from an impact perspective. Or if you have fruits after breakfast or for breakfast, and later on you get a bit active, you walk around, these things, it uses it off. It's different like when you go to bed, for example, in the evening, then your body will basically shut down, and then it will not use the sugar. So you have the sugar going around, staying in your blood for a lot longer. That's at least what I learned. And you're absolutely correct. So I would never have probably had a way to discover this without the AI tools. Like with the AI tools, it's really easy to just ask follow-up questions and discover things like that and have a discussion around it, and also ask, yeah, what could I change? What is good? What's not so good? What has what kind of impact? And I think on this, at least dietary points, it's actually, for me, it was quite interesting. For example, I learned a lot about that it's actually good not to eat carbs in the evening so much, for the same reasons that I just explained, have more like proteins in the evening and salad and so on, and how these things work together. And this is really interesting.
And this company you mentioned at the beginning, they are like specialized into that. So how can they help like the average Joe? Is it like an app? Do you have to do like a subscription? Do they measure you personally to find your goals?
Yeah, so I think for a long time, actually, this Bryan Johnson, he just did it for himself. So there was no company behind it. He has now raised quite a significant amount of money to commercialize that. I'm not entirely sure how far they are along, but I'm quite sure that they will actually bring out courses, an app, and other things around that. Maybe even nutritions. I mean, sport nutritions and so on are a huge market, right? So proteins, creatine, all these kind of things, they are it's huge markets, and they will tap into it. But for a long time, he just really did it for himself. He said he had made enough money with the sale of his last app, basically, to have enough to live comfortably and do these kind of things. And he just decided to see how long he can live. That was his next goal, and just to optimize everything.
In 100 years, we will see if his plan worked out or not.
Yeah, and he also tweeted that he would probably die the most funny way imaginable. There's nothing to do with anything he does. So I think there's some self-awareness there. And then again, what I think is really nice is they put a lot of study now into him and measure everything and the impact of all things, at least on his body. And that's also something we can learn from. So it doesn't even have to mean that what he does basically will work for everybody else, but at least it gives us a shot, I would say, to understand these things better.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first and the biggest step is really like starting. If you want to have a healthy life, you need to start somewhere. And usually it's the motivation to do the first step. And if you get a role model who can show you what to do, it's definitely a good beginning.
Yeah, also I think if like, I would say kind of the bubble you are in just moves in one direction, you will be dragged along sooner or later, right? So the thing around this is really, it's like a group dynamic. It's not even, the more people around you act in a certain way, you will act more in that way. I think for the first ones, it's really maybe, the first one is the person who has to kind of clear the path in the snow. And then the next ones, there will be a few that follow. But if enough follow and change these things, then it will become like more of a general movement. And I think that is really good for society. I mean, if we got rid of a lot of these very expensive diseases or they get lowered, that would be pretty great.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, at the end, sometimes it also needs a lot of luck to get older, because there are a lot of people who have an unhealthy life and still get old, and then you have the opposite, people who just eat healthy stuff and still get get sick and don't have that kind of luck. So I guess it's a combination of both, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think what you can do if you like to is at least reduce risk. As I said before, it's also the question that you want to skip your beer, for example, in the evening. Is it worth it for you? If the other thing is fun to you, and maybe it's not that worth it. I mean, that's a decision that's up to everybody. We're free to choose that however we like. I think what is good is that there's some sensibilization around it. And what I also believe is good is just to understand what things might mean, because some things might come really easy to you that you just didn't know that were not so good.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and if you just know about these, then you change them and it becomes a lot better. And I think this trend will increase a lot also in the coming years still. So yeah, it's also probably very interesting, but that's a different topic, how the supplement industry will then develop, because they will largely profit from a change in that. If the dietary things change and people try to supplement also in the direction that they want to go with, for example, vitamins or whatever it is, this will also be an increasing market over the next few years.
Yep, definitely. I mean, at the end, if you have people who just, push you into the right direction, having a healthy lifestyle, it's never a wrong thing.
Yeah, I think that's very nice final words. This was this episode of Zeitgeist Podcast. Goodbye and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.